most egregious because it involves the whole Bay Area, not just one town. And that's why one of the reasons you're getting around all of the separate towns and all their ordinances by overlaying the zoning that's in each of those areas with your own plan, which changes everything. The zoning on the land that you're touching. No, anyway. So my example of how this is a very complicated program and relies on a lot of complex information from many sources. And the worst thing that would be if this information that you're basing it on is incorrect. Well, the population numbers, which is one of the basis for your projections, is based on 2000 ABAG's numbers. And ABAG is supposed to represent the Council of Bay Area Governments. They don't represent the Bay Area, though, because they came out with a population growth projected at 10%. The census came out 2 years later and proved that it was 5%. They're also supposed to take their numbers from the Department of Finance, which rounded down their numbers to 5%. ABAG didn't do that, and that was in 2010. Since then, they've added the same 10% to the 2014 RENA numbers, so affordable housing and everything else. All your numbers are based on the wrong projections of population growth. So it can't be right. And when you're off by 5% in year one, 40 years or 30 years later, you're going to be off by at least 15%. So I think this is a social engineering that we did not ask for, and we don't want it. Thank you, sir.
Susan will be followed by another Susan Russell, and Phyllis Cosson.
Hi, my name is Susan and I'm from Gilroy, and I do want to say, just add to what Jeff said about the population, because people are leaving California. California is the highest tax state in the country with New York, and it's going to get worse. So people are leaving, they are not coming in. So I've got to say that that has to be looked at again, because it's not New York's out. But anyway, I want to say, I perused the EIR, the 1,335 pages of the EIR, and what I see is total control over my life. It's in housing, it's in transportation, it's in land use, taking away from agriculture, ranching. We used to be the breadbasket of America, that's gone. Okay, if you're opening up space that you say can be used by the public, no, we can't go on these lands anymore. They're going into open space to just sit empty. Is this to put on the solar things to run the energy we need for our electric cars? What I see is a total control of my life, and I do not vote for this. I'm just going to address a small part of it because it's got to do with the electric car issue. Have we looked at, first of all, electric cars are cost prohibitive. That young gentleman, Mr. Chen, who spoke first, he wants to get into something a little bit more cost effective. That car will cost him $20,000 more than a gas-fueled car. They're poor performance. They've gone under with taxpayer money. There's been failures in the Volt with the engine fires. Fisker was billions of taxpayer monies that failed. There were recalls on Toyota Priuses. And my question is, where are these recharging stations going to be, and how much are they going to cost? And what are the hours that are going to be needed to recharge a vehicle? I wonder if all that has been addressed. And where's this is electricity to recharge, right? Aren't we looking at limiting the use of our electricity? Where are we going to get that electricity?
A disposable battery.
Thank you, Susan. Phyllis Cosson and Libby Lucas.
Okay, I'm speaking for the League of Women Voters in the Bay Area. We strongly support regional planning that coordinates Bay Area transportation and housing and land use decisions to reduce greenhouse gas emissions and to meet the region's full housing needs for people of all incomes in accordance with SB 375. Done well, regional planning will protect our environment, improve our economy, increase social equity, conserve agricultural lands, and make our lives safer and more secure. These are issues of region-wide importance that require thoughtful regional policies. The recently released draft draft EIR and equity analysis provide a wealth of information that should be used to improve the draft Plan A area approved for study. In particular, we know that the draft EIR identifies the environment, equity, and jobs, so the EEJ scenario, alternative 5, as the environmentally superior alternative among scenarios analyzed. The EEJ alternative also outperforms the other alternatives on most of the performance targets and equity metrics your agencies have adopted. Compared to all the other alternatives, the EEJ alternative would bring us less traffic, healthier residents, fewer traffic deaths, more affordable neighborhoods, and would do a better job of allowing our most vulnerable neighbors to stay in their homes. We urge MTC and ABAG to incorporate the best elements from the EEJ alternative and add key mitigations into the final plan Bay Area to improve outcomes on a host of issues vital to the future of the region. In particular, with regard to affordable housing, plan for sufficient housing affordable to low-wage workers in all infill locations with access to jobs and transit. With regard to displacement, strengthen One Bay Area grant program to better incentivize local anti-displacement and affordable housing policies. Fund mitigation such as land bagging and housing rehab. And with regard to health and active transportation, fund more active transportation and complete streets programs to maximize health co-benefits of physical activity and transit use and better mitigate air pollution.
Thank you.
I'm Phyllis Castle, and
Forgive me for mispronouncing.
I support the regional plan for the San Francisco Bay Area. We need our open spaces to support more than clean air. We need these lands to provide watershed, agriculture, and other uses. We need the water to be able to regenerate someplace. We don't need private developers to build every little piece of land we have. We need to stay out of the baylands in our work, and that needs to be done consistently for a number of reasons that you have listed already, and most people know. The water level is rising, the lands are fragile, and we shouldn't be building in them. We need an adequate supply of housing, supply control of cost. A shortage increases the price for housing for everyone, and an adequate supply reduces the price for everyone. We need housing for all kinds of people in the community, and we need it close enough together that we are able to keep other spaces open for other uses. Thank you.
We'll be this followed by Selena Santa Cruz and Ron, I think it's Sackman.
Hi, my name is Linda Lucas. My background is environment and recreation. I probably shouldn't be speaking because I have yet to get a hold of a copy of this document to really read it in hard copy. I looked at the transportation plan briefly today at one library, but the other libraries didn't have documents. I think that my biggest concern is at a meeting the other day, someone waved 2 or 3 pages in the air and said, these are all the wetlands that are going to be impacted. I think when AB 375 was passed, it was to address climate change, and I think that wetlands, marshes, are your best way of mitigating for car emissions. The sequestering capability is quite extraordinary, and yet if this plan is removing acres and acres of wetlands, I think that's highly questionable as far as overall planning. The salt pond restoration is lovely, but it's a lot of open water. It doesn't do the same job that the marshes themselves do. And so often we're expanding of a highway, like 101, is then impacting the marshes that are still there as a buffer. And I guess my other concern is that with the density increase, you have to consider the schools and the libraries and the places for children to play. And the minute your population density gets to a certain point, the other ones that are going to be suffering if they can't, fly a kite or swim a baseball bat. So please look at the overall impacts that your plan is making. Thank you very much.
Yes, my name is Selena Santa Cruz, and I have a question really for you on your FAQs that are miscellaneous. It's an environmental justice asking, what is that? It's a presidential executive order. A presidential executive order who is a minority, whose citizenship is questionable at best. It is to benefit and burden disadvantaged communities and to include minority and low-income communities in decision-making. illegal aliens? And who's paying for these low-income, disadvantaged minorities, non-minorities? Those are questions I'd like to know. Thank you.
Ron Sackman, followed by Georgina Scott, and Beth C. is in Harvard from Gilroy.
Hello, thank you. First of all, I want to thank you for planning this outreach meeting. I think it's a good start to bring affected residents and homeowners into this dialogue. So, first of all, thank you for making this outreach effort. And Councilman Brian, it's nice to have you here tonight. I'm a resident of Mountain View. So I'd like to speak a little more about a specific high-density project with which Councilman Brian is very familiar. As I live in Mountain View near the intersection of Castro and Marijuana. There's a project under consideration to build the high-density housing complex at the intersection of Castro and El Camino. And I have a couple of concerns about it that I'd like to share. First off, this particular project would not be within practical walking distance of Caltrain or any other public transportation as far as I can see. So if you have 200 residents living there, the likely traffic pattern would be to introduce 200 plus cars onto an already crowded street intersection. So to me, I just don't see how that's in keeping with the vision of ABAG, with where it's trying to go. Also, this would put out a business popular local market called the Rose Market, which I think both of us probably shop there. I think that would be really a tragedy. You know, if you look at small businesses that are affected by some of these high-density housing projects, someone who spent a lot of their own time, a lot of their own money to develop a small business, grow it up, and they're doing well, kind of part of the American dream, if you want to think of it that way. And then when these projects could come along and steamroll several small businesses through no fault of their own, they would see in business if the project moving along. So I submit that this particular project is probably, to me at least, as a local resident who would be very impacted by this project, I don't see how it's in keeping with the philosophy of where I think the group is going. I submit therefore that it should be reconsidered and probably not pursued. One additional consideration is directly across the street from the Middle School will have a significant impact on traffic. So I would just suggest that as there should be dialogue involving local homeowners when on specific projects like this. And I thank you again for having this initial discussion. It's very helpful as we get to be able to hear this out in public. But a project such as this one is an example of many UDP brought under scrutiny. Thank you.
Georgina is followed by Beth and Matt Freeman.
Georgina Scott. I wanted to have Mr. Shaw speak on my behalf, but I was told that I couldn't, so I can only assume that you don't want somebody highly educated on the subject educating the rest of the public here. So I would like to say I am opposed to this plan. I agree with what Mr. Shaw had said. If you read One Bay Area Plan is envisioned is straight out of the Sustainable Development Agenda 21 document. If you don't know about it, I would suggest you go to the website and read it and understand what it's about. It's a United Nations plan. This particular plan, I believe, is a vision that's unrealistic, non-attainable, and it's based on false and unsubstantiated data. In fact, I actually wrote the county and asked them for their data to support climate control or global warming or whatever you want to call it. And I actually got a bunch of gobbledygook. I was expecting to get actual legal references or cases or something that supported it, but I didn't get it. This plan targets and caters to minorities and the low income and is designed to redistribute the wealth with new made-up feel-good terms such as environmental justice and social equity to make the people feel good as you slowly take away our rights. All this plan seems to do is gain more control over our lives. And the transportation to reduce air pollution, that to me seems like a joke. Just as the greenhouse gas emissions, reducing air pollution is laughable when you devise plans where I can sell my cars to you because you're not using them. I don't understand how that's actually reducing any air pollution. Then on page 3 in the plan, it says if you can't meet the targets, oh well, that's okay, we'll just go to plan B. Because, quote, that doesn't have to be as feasible or achievable as the SDS. I can't believe how much time you spent coming up with answers like that.
Thank you.
Hi, my name is Beth Calvert, and I'm a native Californian, born and raised here, and lived in Gilroy for over 30 years. I specifically moved to a rural part of South County where I chose to build my home on an acre lot. I believe it is our individual freedom to choose where we live, a larger house we want and can afford, what type of car we want to drive, and so I totally reject the social engineering of the Plan Bay area. Stated in your own literature, it says the Bay Area Plan will reduce the separation of land use, jobs, stores, schools, and homes, and encourage more complete mixed-use communities so people can drive less and walk, bike, or use more transit. Number 2, cluster more homes, jobs, and other activities around transit so people can more easily use transit rather than drive. Plan land use and transportation together to reduce traffic congestion, improve vehicle speeds, reduce emissions from idling and other inefficiencies. And you also state that the priority development areas are proposed to absorb 80% of the new housing and 66% of new jobs and only 3% of the Bay Area land. You're trying to push us into small areas. I do not want my 4 children to be socially engineered into living in cluster homes and mixed-use communities. If they choose to live there, I would love to help them do so, but do not force future generations into this type of housing by slowly limiting their choices and where they can live and work.
That's right.
This is going to be followed by Pat Wynn and Dot Khan.
Good evening. I'm Matt Freeman from Santa Clara County Municipal Authority. The authority is a special district responsible for protecting and managing open spaces, green belts, wildlife habitat, water resources, farms and ranches in Santa Clara County, including the cities of San Jose, Santa Clara, Milpitas, Campbell, and Morgan Hill. The authority really appreciates the emphasis of Plan Bay Area to direct much of the Bay Area's anticipated growth into existing urban areas, to promote compact development and infill to reduce greenhouse gas emissions. This is a great first step. We feel, however, that the emphasis that the plan could do more to achieve its goals through proactive and focused conservation of green belts, open spaces, and agricultural lands. More specifically, the authority would like to see more focus and investment in the protection and establishment of the priority conservation areas. SB 375 includes a requirement that financial incentives to cities and counties be considered for the protection of open space, farmland, and natural resources. The One Bay Area Grant Program, however, only includes $10 million towards the establishment of the priority conservation areas out of an estimated nearly $290 billion in transportation revenue over the next 28 years. In Santa Clara County, many of the priority conservation areas fall within really important areas that have been identified as critical land conservation priorities by the Area Open Space Council's Conservation Lands Network and the Santa Clara Valley Habitat Conservation Plan. So increased investment in these areas is really essential to ensure the economic viability of our remaining farmlands and also to protect the natural systems that provide so many benefits to ensure local communities. Clean air, water, food, access to recreation, tourism, view sheds. So by protecting these important natural resource areas and farmlands, conservation and the priority conservation areas will help the cities meet their greenhouse gas reduction targets by reducing vehicle miles traveled, by protecting natural areas for carbon sequestration, and additionally for regional destination. Thank you.
Pat Wynn, followed by Dot Khan.
Hello, my name is Kathleen. I'm with the Blue Solitary Foundation, Vivo. And first of all, I do want to thank everyone who was part of Plan Bay Area. I feel like this is the first time ethnic communities, immigrant communities, refugee communities was really asked to be involved in the outreach. And there was a really active effort to get us involved in the outreach. So we do want to thank you, and the staff has been really great about that. In general, we do support the plan. We do agree with Transform and some of the other groups that the environmental equity and jobs alternative is a plus to the plan. In general, the main emphasis we would like is affordable housing to low-wage workers in infill locations with access to jobs or transit. Thank you.
Thank you. Dot Khan, followed by Ishi, Sidney, and person with the first initial J, Word.
Great, thank you everyone. I just wanted to also extend my gratitude towards planning the area folks for really making an effort to not only get to the community, but really engage both in the support. A couple of things I want to emphasize, especially when it comes to putting this plan together and putting it into action, it's going to affect all 9 counties, and especially for Santa Clara County and the city of San Jose, with a population of almost 1 million people. I really want to emphasize when it comes to investments in transportation for the future, buses, trains, light rail, really to emphasize transportation services for various diverse immigrant and aged community we have here in the city, especially when it comes to affordable housing, thinking about the aging and the growing senior population, the number of students that are here in the city, and particularly for working families, making sure seniors have access to community centers, families have access to jobs, and students have access to schools. And finally, on the point about quality jobs, really making the emphasis to continue to work with community partners going forward. They have the access, they have the information, they have the staff, they have the people, they have insider knowledge to really be able to make this plan inclusive going forward and really engage the communities. And in closing, I really want to emphasize the point in building this plan together collaboratively is to engage the community. I definitely encourage you to continue to do so as we go forward with this plan.
Mr. City, Ishi City, followed by Jay West or Jay Worth. I mean, having our kind of meeting, followed by Ralph Kearns. If you are any of those 3 people, feel free to come forward.
I am Ishi City. I am against this plan. I want cities to have local control. I want the money I pay for gas taxes to pay for road repairs. If you choose Plan Bay area, you lose the character of your town and the whole Bay Area. Yeah.
I am James West.
I'm sorry, I had you as team for at least read. Thank you.
I am just now learning about the Bay Area community, and I am experiencing some parts of it. I live in Palo Alto. I used to live in San Francisco. Living in Palo Alto was very different from living in San Francisco, which was a very diverse city, culturally, sexual orientation-wise, racially, all those kinds of things. The biggest distinction that I have experienced living in Palo Alto has been the lack of diversity, especially around race, and really finding anyone that's out sexual orientation-wise. This is of interest to me because as a city like Palo Alto, and I'm talking about Palo Alto here, brings in low-income housing, it's attracting a population of people that it has very limited experience with, and I have found repeatedly that people like myself, people of color, people in a low-income income bracket, and when we talk in Palo Alto, it's really anything less than $100,000. So I think, if you make somewhere up to 100, that's a lot of money. We pay taxes, we vote, we contribute. I think we contribute a lot to this country. There are those of us that serve this country, and we contribute to our communities. But when we go to the local planning departments, the local city councils, because we're such a small percentage of people, Palo Alto does not have a large minority community that we're cut off. So when local communities are planning for these kinds of things, and they're looking to get input on how to serve us, there is no input. We're totally cut off from the planning boards and planning decisions. We find that things are planned for us. Examples of this is they have now a housing development where there's lots of traffic and they're putting kids in there. If that was a residential area, they wouldn't put kids in there.
Thank you, Mr. West. Ladies and gentlemen, I certainly appreciate people wanting to express their points of view, and we want you all to express your points of view. I would ask you please refrain from building or any negative comments if you are not in front of the microphone. Everyone's got an opportunity to speak, but we'd like to have a civil dialogue. Mr. Prince?
Thank you. First thing is, population is going to grow over the years, so I think double-decking most of the freeways might be something to look at. lands already there, already used, and solar paneling above it for additional creation of electricity. I think the homeowners should have a better access to solar paneling in houses, such that if you don't have solar paneling in the deserts, of which the desert wildlife may not be accustomed to the extra shade that's being created. Bay Area Rapid Transit is a good example of local control overpowering regional. I think BART should have gone all the way around the Bay Area, but the two should work together. Thank you. I think I've covered everything I wanted to say.
Thank you, Mr. Judith Fawcett, let's say Fawcett, Judith Fawcett, Sue Adams, and Michael Lidmer.
I am a Mountain View resident. I probably worked in one of the very first mixed-use buildings built. My office is in Two Worlds in Mountain View. The idea is the main floor was business, and above that was the residential. 3 of the original owners tried that. They didn't last long. Somehow it was a little too close working and living in one building, and they all gave it up within a year. So, you know, that's all I can say about actual experience. And the other issue I have is the bus rapid transit on the El Camino. Since 1981, I've been sitting in that building watching the empty buses go by. And maybe someday they're going to be filled, but they haven't filled that. And they want to spend $875,000 per bus. They said one bus will go by every 10 minutes. 875,000, 875,000, 875,000, empty. Empty. I mean, every 10 minutes is insanity. If you had a peak rush hour and you needed a bus every 10 minutes, that would be fine by me. But that's not the way it's been expended. It's a waste of money. We only have so much money. And you're taxing people out of California. I have 2 clients, I'm an insurance broker, I have 2 clients that can't wait to get out. Now that the market is back, they're selling their house and they're out. I've had entire families move. I would go, except I have 3 children and 6 grandchildren. Unless I can get the group to go, I'm not going. But I was born and raised in San Francisco. I understand transportation, and this is not working out.
Ms. Adams is followed by Michael Lidmer and Cecilia E.
Hi. I'm a native Californian. I've seen a lot of changes.
Closer to the mic.
Born and raised in California. I've seen a lot of changes that concern me and not so happy with. Everywhere I go, I mention one Bay Area plan, the Grand Boulevard plan, etc. And I've never run across anyone who seems to know what's about. So I say, well, start going to city council to find out what's going on and checking it out. I don't think it should be up to a small group of people to decide the future for all. More people need to be made aware of this. I do not support this social engineering plan. I don't want my family and friends being slowly nudged to something, to someone else's idea of how we should live.
Yes.
Hi, my name is Michael Dittmer, and I'm from De Anza College. I'd like to also voice my support for Planned Bay Area, but like Chris Lepe, I'd like to voice my support for the EEJ option. I believe that the money from the HOT lane could be used to support public transit options instead of simply more lanes on the road. And I also believe that the displacement that poor and low-income people are facing in their housing could also be addressed as well. Now, there's a lot of people here who seem to think that we're going to, tell people where they have to live, tell them what car they have to drive, and that simply isn't true. We need to think about the ways that our car-centric planning has ruined people's lives. Think about what New York City did during the 1960s under the traffic planner, I believe his name was Robert Moses. And what they did is that they destroyed neighborhoods in order to build more highway. If that's not government intruding in your life, I don't know what is. that is very clear and it can be an example where we need to empower people with our transit options and our housing options instead of limiting what they can do because they have to purchase a car and they have to drive on the highway. The simple fact remains that if we were to put this to a vote, severe problems could happen. So, for example, when BART was implemented, there were certain counties like Santa Clara County that did not approve of the plan, and as a result, BART was fragmented across the Bay Area. The simple fact remains is that we need to coordinate our efforts in order so that, for an example, like Plan Bay Area, so that we can get an effective solution. If Santa Clara County was to vote against the plan, and Alameda County was to vote for it, and then another county voted against it, we would get fragmented implementation, and that would be worse for everyone, including those taxpayers who want their money well spent. The fact remains is that there are plenty of externalities to our car use. People are dying. There are about 40,000 people who die from car pollution each year because we drive cars. That needs to change. That costs lives, that costs money, and ultimately we need public transit solutions that actually solve that problem. Ultimately, we don't need our public transit solutions to distribute money from the poor to the wealthy through the use of HOT lanes that would prioritize wealthy people over poor people, even when poor people pay for those lanes. Thank you.
Cecilia Dean will be followed by Monia O'Neill, forgive me for mispronouncing the name, and Richard.
All right. Yeah, so Michael is very hard to follow, but I'll do my best. All right. My name's Cecilia, and I'm also from Yancey College. And first, I'd like to really thank Plan Bay Area for recognizing, honoring all points of view by having these spaces like these. And I'd like to push for more, like others said, to have more people to speak in these things and reach out to them so they can provide their input. And specifically, I've come here today to show support for the environment, equity, and jobs alternative. And I'm personally coming to speak as a person of color, a student who plans to study in the Bay Area and ultimately live in the Bay Area and work here. And really, I'd like to show my utmost support for the EDA because it is the best, because it's going to bring us less traffic, healthier residents, and fewer traffic deaths, and more rural neighborhoods. And we do a better job of allowing most rural neighbors to stay in their homes. And then, really, my perspective is that for the Planet Bay Area to continue, we have to look at long term and always keep in mind environmental justice. And for that to happen, we need to make sure that low-income people do not get priced out and left out of the planning. And for that to happen, I'd like to show my support for rethinking how we're implementing the new hot lanes and show support for better funding for public transportation, better public transportation options such as BRT. And I'd like to also show support for protection against displacement, specifically for people with low income in housing. And yeah, thank you very much for your time.
Thank you.
Hi, I'm Monia O'Neill. I just want everyone who's here and is here to raise your hand because I think it's really awesome. We brought a lot of people from Yancey College who are going to be transferring to colleges in the Bay Area. Just because this is something that really affects our lives as students who have lived here our whole lives, like as me. I've lived here for 20 years. And I've seen how a lot of the policies that have been implemented have impacted my own life as a daughter of a single mother and someone whose father was in the Army, just because of how difficult it could be to get around and to access a lot of the resources. And so I really do want that freedom of choice of not being able to, not having to drive continuously. I used to nanny and I work two full-time jobs now, and so driving around and taking my siblings everywhere is just a huge burden on myself and on my family. So implementing something like bus rapid transit that would basically make access to our schools and to our communities would basically be saying that you don't need a car to be an active member of our community, which I don't think should be true. And just in terms of the environmental justice, when I was a nanny, I could see so many of the kids that I worked with are developing asthma and having basically a lot of, sorry, I'm really nervous. Sometimes when we think of these things like environmental justice, we kind of see it as a huge theory rather than something that's actively in the lives of a lot of the area residents. So I just want to voice my support for the EJ plan and for including students, people of color, minorities, disabled folks in this plan. So thank you so much.
Mr. Richard will be followed by Jim Kuhl, and followed by Benjamin Kogan, and then Rob.
Okay, thank you very much. So the stage name is Rich G. Richer, because the rich get richer. Because that's the prerequisite of the end plan. There has to be a way here for the rich to get richer. You know, we all come from somewhere, and here in Silicon Valley, unlike the rest of the country, we have, in Santa Clara County, 1.8 million folks, 700,000 of whom are foreign born. Now, that isn't by chance. It's by importation. That is, corporate executives see the opportunity to bring in cheap labor, relatively talented folks from around the world, and that's really, I think, what this plan is about. Bringing in folks from elsewhere. Not necessarily a bad thing, but could have impacts for people that are here. The folks that came here tonight to speak on principle, I congratulate you. If you came here to get a job, as a $100,000 bus driver, I'm not so favorable to you. There are a lot of people that have trickle-down interest in this. You want to spread it around and sell it to folks, and that's interesting. But I think the truth tonight is that folks who are here are speaking not to you two, but to that blank wall in back of you. Because you folks aren't going to do anything for them. And an example of that is down in Mountain View, where the city council expresses opposition to a dedicated bus lane, as the council did in Sunnyvale, and that's going forward with the regional board, the BTA, and they're silent about what they're going to do in Palo Alto, because you take them piece by piece. That's what this regionalism is about, disenfranchisement. Thank you very much.
Good evening. My name is Jim Kuhl. I'm a Sierra Club Urban Environmental Advocate, and I have some recommendations. First of all, what I saw is a smorgasbord of projects. There's no, how would call it, excitement, leadership in what you're proposing. What you need is to get out in front of the meeting. This means you have to be looking at like 2060 or 2050 out in front of the city plans, instead of following what the city plans are. You need to have goals for emission reductions. You need to have goals for public transportation use increase. Go from 1% to 25%. You need solar power goals. Increase it to 25% of the solar power generated in the earth. I don't see any innovation in your plan. I just see smorgasbords and projects. Another example that you could do to get out in front is affordable housing. We've heard here in the audience is a huge issue. Instead of having this anemic 15% that most of the cities have for mixed use residential commercial housing, hey, state it at 25%. We need help in that area. I personally have a social security check that I live on when I'm retired. It's $1,500 a month. I don't have a public pension. The other thing that I can recommend that would show some innovation is for these bus rapid transit routes, install synchronized traffic lights so all vehicles can move at a higher speed. This would have an immediate, permanent reduction in emissions. I don't see that kind of innovation. Come on, you guys are being paid big bucks. Think ahead, look out, show some innovation.
Mr. Cohen, followed by Rob Phoenix, and then Mr. Hernandez, Ruth Hernandez.
Mic check. Kind of hard to hear back there. Anyways, thank you for hosting the meeting. This conversation is not for you guys. I see 3 cameras, 1, 2, 3. I expect to see this information anywhere else in the world and find it on the internet. For those watching, I want a record on how many speakers were pro and against this agenda, and any reports that there was no opposition would be false. So this is a very touchy subject, and the guys from De Anza College, thank you very much. It feels good to speak, and I think affordable housing sounds really good, and I agree, I want that. But there's a bigger picture, there's a bigger scheme, there's actually something bigger behind all this, behind the white wall. I don't know, behind how far you want to go behind the white wall for the better situation. And it's not affordable housing, it's affordable living, it's responsibility, okay? So what's really going on? And so we got world factors. We got United Nations, we got NATO, and we got the military presence around the sea, okay? And we can talk all those different issues if you want to watch. We can go back to the simple fact, $16 trillion in deficit, okay? And then you want to take subsidized big money and throw it down our throats and put people everywhere. Now, I'm not saying everyone has a right to live, okay? But the point I'm making is not affordable housing, okay? It's affordable living, okay? You got taxes, you got DMV taxes, you got food taxes, you got overseas, we got money we owe the Federal Reserve, and we got this millions that we're spending. You can't afford to live. You can't. And you're in California. And so if you want to make our lives easier, make it more affordable to live. And I can prove you're wasting money because you built a train to nowhere, the high-speed train, $300 million a year, and there's no train. It's the track. You want me to trust you? You want me to trust you? White people, whoever you want me to trust you. So I don't know how far the Spartan Cup goes and how far you want to go, but freedom has a price. Thank you for your time. Thank you.
We've heard folks here talk about needing convenient transit. We've heard folks talk about natural law folks, in particular, talk about local control. We've got concerns about aging population, additional freeway lanes, and both the environmental and public impact of all that. All of these constituencies would probably be interested in automated transit networks, which were suggested by the Advanced Transit Association representative when this process was started back in July, but which was essentially blown off by staff saying, well, yeah, we're doing a 25-year plan, but because none of the agencies submitted ATN plans, with the exception of San Jose at the airport, we're not going to include it in our long-term plans. So I suggest that there's a problem with the process if we're talking about a 25-year plan that does not include advanced transit options. A possible solution to this gridlock or breakdown of our process here would be to support an advanced transit network option, opportunity, project, pilot project in Milpitas. I represent the Sunny Hills Neighborhood Association, and we were trying to get a crossing of the railroad tracks there using a PRT or advanced transit technology, and we would appreciate the support of yourselves, MTC, ABAG, and anyone here who thinks that the process is somehow broken. I'll be passing out flyers, and I hope that you support us. Thank you.
Thank you, Smith. Anirudh Fernandez, followed by Shirley Nathan, followed by Luis Flores.
Hi, my name is Anirudh Fernandez, and I'm with the ANZA. I'm a student at the ANZA. And I just really want to thank you guys for having this plan. I am in support of the plan. I think it's very mindful and thoughtful to try to think ahead, and I really like the gentleman's vision of not just thinking ahead, but being innovative with all the resources that we do have here. I would like to voice my, approval of EEJ, which is the Environment, Equity, and Jobs Alternative. I think it is very important. It's a very important aspect of how we move forward. And I think that the Bay Area needs to. So, some of the things that I really like about this plan is affordable housing, and I know that it has a lot of different definitions. To me, it means being able to live in a house, in an apartment with my two parents. Public transportation transportation is very important. Without it, my dad would never get to work, which is about a 3-hour bus ride, and so on and so forth. I think what I would really like to make sure you guys understand is that the impact is realistic, and not only would my dad not be able to get to work, but my mom wouldn't either. And they actually need the car. So I'm a student, I get to work and take the car and drive to school, and I really like that, but I need to not be able to have to rely on the car. And there's a lot of opposition against this plan, and I think it's because, like another gentleman said, everyone comes from somewhere, right? And that's just how it is, but I can't express how much it means to me that you have these public hearings, and I really hope to participate in them. Thank you.
This next will be followed by Luis Flores and Mark Henry.
Hi, my name is Shirley Nathan, and I've been shocked to witness the rapid transformation of the Bay Area, mainly due to the overbuilding ordered by ABAG specifically, as well as traffic congestion with roads being narrowed and lanes eliminated. Saving the environment is being used in order to implement this agenda, when in reality controlling the citizens to conform to an unrealistic utopian agenda is behind this hysteria. It benefits no one in the long run. How can stacking people in small boxes be healthy and sustainable? Bike riding is great, but totally unrealistic when used as a goal to replacing the automobile, which affords the most freedom and flexibility. Transit corridors may work for commuters who live near the trains, but then again, there's so much mobility in our society that all alternatives should be planned, such as improving the roads and adding parking spaces instead of eliminating them. I've never read of so many cases of road rage leading to violence with people fighting over parking spaces or rushing to get ahead in merging lanes since your mandates have been implemented. Your population growth predictions conflict with the Department of Finance, using statistics that are about 40% higher than those put out by the department, and yet you still insist that cities conform to your requirements. And there's also no provision for single-family homes in your plan. You are an unelected body taking over local governments who are intimately acquainted with what is necessary for their cities, treating them all the same. Most people have never heard of ABAG, but when they realize what is happening, they are usually shocked. I attended one of your meetings where a board member boasted that you do not have to be beholden to the Brown Act. This is blatantly wrong. This is not a right, left, or party issue, it's just a right and wrong issue. Thank you.
My name is Luis Flores, and I was raised in San Jose since I was a baby. I was born in the state. And I'm here to show support for Senate Bill 375 and for the Bay Area as they aim to implement affordable public housing and efficient transportation system. I personally am an avid biker. I bike to the Anza College with some of my classmates over here. And I bike from the east of San Jose to Cupertino. And on a good day, I can definitely beat the express lane, bus 323. I can get to the Anza faster than riding that bus. So the days I'm lazy, I do end up riding 323. But like, I bike to the Anza 10 plus miles, and I'm riding faster than the best option of public transportation. So more accessible, and I think a faster transportation system is vital for people who do want alternative forms of transportation besides, and people who can't afford a car to use. I would also ask that the express lanes are to be strategically placed in neighborhoods that can best reap the benefits. And those tend to be lower income communities, as they are the ones who I think need the